Although there are many terrifying things in the world, those who have lost their humanity may be the most terrifying of all. Children are taught at a young age that murder is wrong, but there are plenty of serial killers in the world. We will probably never understand what could be going on in these murderous individuals' minds to push them to such levels of cruelty. You might be surprised to learn that Pedro Lopez was one of these killers who was released for good behavior. Many of these killers are either killed, receive life sentences, or escape capture by using cunning tricks. Dubbed the monster of atheism in 1948, Pedro Alonso López was born in Colombia to a low-income family. He had a difficult upbringing due to a very difficult childhood. In order to provide for her family, his mother had to work as a sex worker, and young Lopez frequently saw his mother being physically abused by her clients. After his mother discovered him abusing his younger sister at the age of 8, his psyche became twisted, and he was expelled from his house. Young Lopez, who was forced to live in the streets for the remainder of his days, was quick to believe a stranger when he offered him food and a place to stay. Instead, the stranger led him to a deserted area where he was raped. He was too traumatized by this event to live a typical life. Up until the age of 12, Lopez spent a few years attending an orphanage. However, he ran away from school after being sexually assaulted by a male teacher. He then went back to living on the streets and turned into a car thief to support himself. When he was 18 years old, he was caught trying to steal a car and was sentenced to prison. Lopez was gang raped by his fellow inmates not too long after being put behind bars, and this was the final event that caused his mind to go insane. Before being released from prison, he hunted down his rapists in order to exact revenge and killed them in cold blood. It's unclear if he served any additional time in prison for these killings because they were justified as acts of self-defense. What is certain is that after his release from prison, Lopez had already turned into a deranged man and would never again be a normal person. While attempting to kidnap a 9-year-old girl in northern Peru, he was caught by a group of Ayacachos. His captors planned to punish him according to their tribal laws, but a Western missionary in the community persuaded them to hand Lopez over to authorities instead, much to their dismay. Instead of being charged with any crime, Lopez was deported back to Colombia. Back in Colombia, Lopez spent a few years traveling through that country and Ecuador in search of fresh victims. During his reign of terror, a suspiciously high number of girls vanished in these nations, but police blamed prostitution or slavery ring activity. When Lopez was finally apprehended by police in 1980, while attempting to seduce the daughter of a street vendor in Ecuador, he initially refused to confess to anything. As a result, the authorities sent a priest disguised as another prisoner to make small talk with Lopez and eventually get him to talk. Lopez was persuaded to confess by the priest after gaining his trust. He reportedly killed more than 100 girls in Colombia, 100 in Peru, and at least 110 in Ecuador. He gave the police information about some of his victims' graves, and they were able to recover more than 50 bodies. In accordance with the laws of Ecuador, the maximum sentence for the murder of more than 50 girls in 1981 was only 16 years, so 33-year-old Lopez was only given this lengthy prison term. Ecuador increased its maximum prison term to 25 years in response to this case. Lopez was deported back to Colombia in 1994 after serving 14 years in prison, but was released early for good behavior. There, he was deemed insane and committed to a mental health facility. After being deemed sane 4 years later, he was released on a $50 bail and hasn't been seen since. A warrant was issued for his arrest after a new murder in Colombia that closely matched his MO occurred, but he was never located. We will probably never know whether Lopez is still alive, whether he is still quietly killing people, or whether he is simply waiting for the ideal opportunity to kill once more. This case stands as a poignant reminder that evil can exist even within seemingly ordinary places and individuals, with Pedro Alonso López's brutal crimes serving as an alarming illustration of humanity's capacity for evil. By exploring more about their lives and unraveling why their violent acts occur in future cases like Lopez, we may gain more understanding as well as work towards stopping similar cases happening again in the future. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, take care and keep exploring.